we're bona fide influencers at this point.
Yeah, pretty much. Until Breland, she can't even hang with us. She's not part of the 100 subscriber club. She hits one video and she thinks she can just walk in and make fun of us.
Dude, you know what's crazy to me is with especially the YouTube stuff, the number of little niches that there are blows my mind. Like Breland does a lot of mom content, like stuff with Jake and cleaning up the house and things like that. And she had one video, got like 16,000 views on YouTube, which is when you have less than 100 subscribers like she does, like that's nuts.
We work way hard to get 3,000.
Yeah. I'm like super hyped when I get.
She's over here not even editing.
Passes 1,000 views. I'm like,
oh, no subtitles, no edits, straight video clip, and she's like cleaning the house. Yeah. It's like, it's crazy, but it just goes to show you. Like yesterday, like I've been posting a lot of sports stuff. At the banquet there was Leonard Skinner. I just posted a video of Leonard Skinner. I get like 4 subscribers from it. It's just like you can post just about anything and get subscribers if it's like decent content. Yeah. But it's about retaining them, right? It's like we've experienced it. We get some, we lose some. We get some, we lose some. So
yeah, I think over time, as you kind of settle on the type of content that you're doing, like for me, I want to do mostly personal finance type of content because that's what I like, personal finance and entrepreneurship. But I think a natural overlap that both of us have with personal finance and entrepreneurship is athletics. And what I've found, kind of stealing this from you, but what I found is that like intersection of athletes and money does pretty well. So like I posted a video about how Shaq invests and Kobe invests, and I just posted one about Magic Johnson, and that stuff does well. And you can also learn from it because if you look at these guys, they're doing what we're trying to do. They're taking their earned income and they're investing it so that they create passive income, right? That's the whole idea. So I think no matter how much money you have, you can do it either way.
And those examples right there are some of the best to do it, right? Like Kobe built a fortune for himself. Shaq's probably made more money post-basketball than he has during basketball. Magic Johnson had some great investments, but I will say being an ex-Spartan, there isn't a lot of like good things people say about him. Like
really?
He doesn't give a lot of money back to the university, which is weird. I mean, you look at Matt Ashibia, I think that's Ashibia, the owner of the Phoenix Suns, the one that just bought it. He's now the youngest NBA owner in history, or currently. I don't know if it's history currently. And he gave like $40-50 million to the school last year.
Whoa.
Helped write and negotiate and pay for Mel Tucker's $95 million salary for a football team. And now he just bought the Phoenix Suns. And he has a great story. He was a walk-on at Michigan State, joined his dad's company when there was just, I want to say, this is a story I heard, less than 10 people. And now it's the largest wholesale mortgage company in the United States. Public, he owns 75% of it. It's how, he's.
Oh, I saw a, what's that guy's name again? I've seen
Matt Ashiba, I think it is.
Okay. They had him on the Bigger Pockets podcast, I think. Do you follow Bigger Pockets or no?
No, but I'm sure, right? Like he is a prime example of like starting from the bottom, became CEO 10 years later.
Yeah.
Took the company public. Probably where all the money came from, though.
Yeah, he's a basketball guy. That's right. That rings a bell. So I'm surprised you don't follow Bigger Pockets, so you should check them out. That's where I learned a ton of my real estate stuff, was from just watching Bigger Pockets podcasts, because they've got hosts on there and it's all about real estate, right? And they have guests on, and so he was one of them. And it's, everyone's got a different path, right? Like he's a mortgage guy, billionaire, obviously. Some people, they'll have people on there that own 10 rentals, and they're like, hey, I started investing in real estate 5-10 years ago, and now I don't need to work anymore because of my real estate portfolio. It pays the bills. So it's kind of all different levels of investors, and it's kind of cool to learn from.
And it's also cool because I don't think you buy a basketball team like at a point where you aren't set up yourself for life. It's more of like I have enough money, I've made enough investments, now it's like I get to do the stuff that's fun. Right? Like he probably, may sell it 20-30 years from now, or he might be like Robert Kraft, where he passes it down to his kids one day, right? Like keep it in the family. But it's like probably has a ton of real estate, but he also owns 75% of a public company. It's
I mean, that's
probably not worried for money at all.
Yeah. No. But if you're buying a team, dude, you're not really working. You're doing what you want to do, which that's the dream, right? It's like when I kind of use retirement synonymously with financial freedom, right? Because ultimately I had this goal that I wanted to retire by the time I was 40. And really what I meant by retire was not stop working and go kick my feet up on a beach somewhere, but do what I want to do because I'm financially free and I can, I don't have to go to work on Monday, right? Maybe I choose to go to work on Monday. But it's all about doing what you want to do. So
yeah, I think retirement's like a convoluted word, right? It's not exactly how I use it. It's not exactly the term how some people use it. I think some people think retirement's like you're done working forever. But for me, it's like more so I don't have to work a 9 to 5 anymore.
Yeah.
Right.
Unless
like
you want to. Maybe you want to.
Unless I want to, right? Like it's secure. But to me, even if I like retire, I might be going to go see properties that day. I might be going to go see vending machine locations. I might be looking at expanding an Amazon store, like taking my money and making more money with it.
That's the kind of stuff that's fun to me, right? Like the vending machine stuff, we've talked about that. But even you and I just looked at this property that we could probably talk about. But you went and saw a property, I don't know if it was last week or the week before, outside of Chicago. And that whole process to me was fun. Like a lot of people, if you're a full-time realtor, maybe that's work for you. You have to show up and take a client out to see the property, you got to analyze it. Here's the comps. Here's how much I think it's worth. Let's write the offer. That's all work. But to me, that's fun work. Like I had fun calling the listing agent and negotiating and trying to, get him to spill the beans to me on how much we needed to.
Well, let's like walk this back a little bit because I want people to understand the difference between a good realtor and, maybe a fine realtor, right? Like I don't want to talk bad about my realtor. She's helped me out find some great properties. But the thing is like when I brought you into that deal, the first thing you asked me was, okay, there's one offer. What's the offer? Like, what is it? And I asked my realtor, I said, well, can you ask him? Can you disclose it? And he goes, well, he might lose his license. I text my mom, who's CEO of Oregon Realtors. I'm like, is this something that happens? She's like, yeah, all the time. That's how bidding wars start. Like that's something that's very normal. Right. And so I asked her again, I'm like, hey, can you ask him? Can you ask if he can get clients' permission to tell us what the offer is, right? We want to compete. We want to give him something better. Like, why not? Why wouldn't you want to do that?
It's in their best interest, right? Like
exactly. She comes back and says, they're not interested. They don't think it's fair to the first, the first offer, which I don't know. I don't know if that's true or not, right? It's like I wasn't seeing their text message threads or whatever. And then I'm like, okay, Nick, you call. Yeah. And you're like, okay, I'll do it later. I'm busy right now. You do it. And I mean, you can tell the story, but it's like, this is the difference, right? Between, I think, a good realtor and a bad realtor. And I want to say that there aren't many realtors that are like you. And I think the people that are like you tend to be more investors.
Well, I think that's probably the difference, right? I have a tendency to kind of, talk bad about realtors. I don't mean to do that. What I try to say is what you just said. There's different types of realtors, right? Like some realtors specialize in first-time home buyers, right? Or they specialize in, trustee sales or something like that. I'm an investor, so I'm just kind of, my specialty is I look for deals that I think are going to work for my personal portfolio. And so because I'm self-motivated to figure out if it's going to work for me, I've got a series of questions that I go through trying to ask, and try to figure out if I'm going to write an offer or not. So it's not to say that I'm, better or worse than the standard realtor. I think it's just a different approach.
Well, I think you're more willing to put yourself out there and call them and ask them straight up. I think a lot of people beat around the bush. I don't know what my realtor asked the selling agent. I don't know. I don't know if it was a text, but you called them. You straight up called them. I'm interested in the property. What's going to get it done? I want to get this done. I want to add this to my portfolio. I'm interested. And you're texting me while you're on the call and you're like, dude, he just spilled the beans. Like I know the exact offer, the exact amount,
I
all the
think
details of it. I'm like, what the hell? Like how was it that easy for you, but not easy for my realtor who does this every day? And, and it's like you said, like there are people who are different. There are people who are, you don't have a reputation in Chicago, right? Like you're not a realtor in Chicago. She is. And maybe it's more of a reputation thing. You don't want to be known as this person who like constantly hounds at people to get, the offer. And then you're known as this person that's like, oh, she's, whether it's a good or bad thing. I like that because I want to know, like, I would have offered what 25, 30,000 more than what the offer even was to begin with. Like,
yeah. Oh, they would have taken your offer for sure.
I know.
Which I mean, look, it wouldn't have been a bad thing. Like I think even at that deal probably works even at list price, to be honest. I just think that it's not a great deal at list price. You know, like it's going to cash flow a little bit. The return on your investment, cash on cash, is going to be okay. Like it would have worked, you know. But if you and I were going to partner on it, right? So what I told you, I was like, look, if we're going to buy this, I think what we should do with where rates are, 7.5% for an investment loan, I think we should try to get a seller finance offer. So we first figured out that the seller owes no money on the property, meaning he doesn't have a mortgage. He bought it for cash for 60 grand, 2 years ago.
Last year. It was like last year.
Yeah. Well, that appeared as a sale last year because he transferred it to his LLC. That's one of the things I figured out. But he bought it like 2 or 3 years ago. Anyway, he had a ton of equity, right? So he bought it $60,000 cash. He listed it for 130 grand, which the comps kind of supported, right? It's probably worth about that. Maybe more if you put some work into it. But I think that for us to buy it, like it wasn't going to cash flow as much as we'd like at a 7.5% interest rate. So with him owing no money, the pitch from us was, hey, will you owner finance it to us? Right? Like we'll meet you, we'll give you price if you give us terms, basically. Those are the two big things in real estate, price and terms. You can't have both. You get to kind of pick one or the other for the most part. So what we said was, hey, we'll give you the list price, the 130 or whatever it was. But if we're going to do that, then we want you to finance it to us at a 2% interest rate, right? And we'll give you $20,000 down. So if you run the numbers, that's for us, it'd be like a $600 a month payment all in, basically. Is that the video? Yeah, hit that with a like right there. How's it doing, by the way?
1,000.
That's not too bad.
Probably more than that. That's just what it shows.
Yeah, let me check here.
Yeah, I like your style now, just taking videos.
Yeah, I got a sub from it too. 1,200 views in 20 minutes. Pretty good. Anyway, back to the real estate story real quick. I'll wrap it up here in a second. So 2 things, price and terms. We were like, hey, Mr. Seller, we'll give you price. We will pay your list price if you give us 2% interest rate finance, owner financing, and we'll give you $20,000 down. And so for us, that's a win because our monthly payment all in is $600. It's rented for $2,200, right? Slam dunk. That works every day of the week, twice on Sunday. For him, it's actually a win too. And this is what I tried explaining to the seller's agent was, look, man, you're probably not going to get 130 on the open market because of where rates are, right? People are going to lowball you. Their first offer was for $100,000, right? So this
wasn't it less?
Yeah, it was a little bit less. It was like 97 or 98 or something like that. But anyway, this way he gets his price and he gets 20,000 up front and then he's financing it to us, right? He becomes the bank now. And most people are like, well, why would he give you the property for, why would he finance that to you for 2% if he's making $2,200 in rent, doesn't own anything on the property? Well, there's a bunch of reasons he would do that, because number one, he clearly wants to sell to invest in something else. So he wants his money out. He's not going to get the full 130, right? So we're saying, look, you've got 60 into it. We'll give you 20 right now. And then you're going to be making 2.5% interest on that $110,000 loan to us. And if you do the math, on his remaining invested money, meaning he invested 60, we're giving him 20 up front. He's got 40 left that he invested. That 2.5% on the loan is closer to a 7% return for him on his original equity, which I think is it's basically risk-free, right? Like he's not managing any tenants. He's not worried about maintenance. He's basically just collecting monthly checks from us for giving us a loan, right? And so depending on what he wants to do with that money, that's a pretty good option, I think. I mean, if I was 30 years older, I'd probably think about taking that. So anyway, seller's agent came back and said, basically they're going to try to evict the tenant, or not evict the tenant, but give them notice and then list it because he thinks they're going to get more marketing it as.
Which doesn't make sense to me because one,
No.
I went and visited this property. It's probably the least maintained property on the entire block, right? There's like writing on the walls. Some of the windows aren't working. The blinds, are kind of broken. There's damage to the garage. The backyard is not maintained whatsoever. You have like brand new HVAC. The roof's fine. You paint it white, black shades. It looks good. There's like issues in the flooring a little bit. It's a great rental. To me, I'm not a single family going to that neighborhood and buying that home. That city itself hasn't grown in like 20 years, right? It's a safe city. It has, your Walmart, your police station local, the high school across the street. It's fine.
Right.
But the thing is that the nuance about that property was that neighborhood is no longer giving out licenses to rent, right? They've stopped that. So if you had a renter, you can continue to rent it out. So I think this guy's doing himself a disadvantage actually, because if someone wanted to buy that property and live in there, they could have evicted the tenant or, asked the tenant to leave. Yeah. They don't so he has a rental property that can be used for a single family home or rental to now just a single family home. That's it.
Yeah. And usually, I'll be honest, this property is kind of outside of my buy box, right? Like I'm looking for areas that are growing, which this one's not really growing, strong job market, and a landlord friendly state, which that's a no for this property because you're in Illinois. The city's not really growing. But I thought it was interesting because we could have potentially gotten that owner finance deal at a 2% interest rate. And then it's going to be a cash cow for a little while. And there's an equity upside too, where, like you said, it's kind of beat down so that when the renter did move out and we had to kind of make a choice on, are we going to stick another renter in there or are we going to try and sell it? I think we probably could have, I know we could have put a little bit of money into it and then played it like a flip, right? Like we probably could have put easily 30 grand, 40 grand into it and sold it for closer to 220.
Yeah. 220. Yeah.
So I think that was interesting too. But anyway, I mean, they said no to our offer, and I think we just stick to our.
They'll probably they'll come calling back, right?
They might.
I mean, I don't think someone's going to buy that as a single family home. There's no reason they had it like in their listing as like a rental turnkey rental investment property, but that doesn't mean a single family someone that's looking for a single family home couldn't have made an offer.
Yeah.
And so to me,
it's on the market listed. Like people, that didn't make any sense to me.
No, they're only putting themselves at a disadvantage. I don't know. I think what they're trying to do is convey it differently, but or maybe he is putting money into it. Maybe that's the thing. Maybe that was the idea is that they're kicking them out, put a little money into it, and then increasing the price on the property.
So if I was representing the seller, that's probably what I would recommend to him is I'd say, look, let's get the tenant out of here. Let's clean it up a little bit. And you're going to get a better, sell price on this. So I think that's smart if that's what they want to do, but he's got to have the money to do it. Right. Anyway, Magic Johnson video. I've gotten 3 subs out of it in 29 minutes, 2,300 views. How about that? A little bit
what bugs me?
A little bit of a banger.
Yeah, no, I had a couple of good ones today too. The Jake Paul, Tommy Fury fight. Tommy Fury won.
Did you watch that?
No, but I saw highlights. It was very boring.
It was a boring fight, dude. The announcers were like, "Oh, this is a good fight. The fans got their money's worth." I was watching it the whole time. I was like, "This sucks. I want my $50 back." So
I had a pretty good video the other day. Got me like 12 subs. It talked about how Ichiro is one of the best hitters of all time, and I posted it on like a Seattle Mariners like fan page on Facebook, and it got a ton, like 200 likes, hundreds of comments. A lot of people disagreeing with me, right? A lot of people, which is rightfully so. I think if you really look at the numbers and you really want to say who the best player of all time is, it might not be Ichiro, but he also came over at 27 years old and still did what he was able to do, right? Ken Griffey was at 19.
Was he only 27?
He was 27, but like Ken Griffey started at 19 in the MLB, right? It's like,
yeah,
Ichiro had over 4,000 professional hits. Okay, doesn't matter. The thing that bugs me the most is when they're like, oh no, what about Jimmy Fox, Ty Cobb, Babe Ruth, all these guys that played in the what was like the 60s and 70s or well before that, like the 20s and 30s, the 40s. I don't even know the years they were playing. And I'm like, these guys in between innings were smoking cigarettes and drinking beers, facing 75 to 80 miles an hour pitching. And you're telling me that Like maybe they could adjust. Maybe a few of them could play in the major leagues today. Maybe, right? Like Ted Williams, DiMaggio, like
dude,
very few of them.
It's every sport, like that's what I was texting you about. I did this Magic Johnson video and I was watching Magic Johnson highlights to try and get a little clip to put in the video. It's like watching slow motion basketball from back in the day. I mean, this
could
was
be camera. Could it be cameras though? Could it be like the type of cameras? Like we have like these 4G and we can like see everything in real time.
Yeah,
like,
it could be. I mean, I think
because
maybe a little bit of that. I just think objectively, athletes have gotten way more advanced in every aspect of.
I mean, you look at Pujols, you look at Bonds, you compare those guys to Hank Aaron and Babe Ruth. You put Bonds today, in that time, he has 900 home runs. Like
especially if he's juicing. So
I'm just saying, like Babe Ruth was like 82 miles an hour pitcher.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And you're talking
it's
about
all relative, though. You know what I mean? Like it's all relative. The best, the greatest of all time is kind of tough because it's relative to the caliber of athlete that you're playing against at a certain point.
But I feel like
the exception is like you take like a Michael Jordan and put him in today's game. Like I've seen,
yeah, but
we were too young to be watching Michael Jordan, but
he was in the 90s. We're talking like 60s, 50s.
Yeah, but it's every decade it kind of gets a little,
Yeah, like Wilt Chamberlain can play probably, but like very few talents. Like I don't think Steve Kerr competes. You know what I mean? Like I just think that there's like the worst guys in the NBA.
Michael Jordan and Wilt Chamberlain to Steve Kerr. Come on, dude.
Kerr. I'm trying to think about like you compare like the differences, right? Of like there's very few athletes that could make it in today's game. Maybe Magic Johnson's one, but you hear a lot of those guys like Shaq and Barkley, and they're like, yeah, these guys couldn't compete in our time. Like our game's too physical. I will say though that basketball has gotten like a less physical, in my opinion, more foul calls today than there were back then. Yeah. But like you go to an NBA game and it's physical. It's not like you see on TV. Those guys are going at each other all game long. It's pretty physical. Like I just hate when the people compare old time to modern.
Well, dude, and just like the sheer physicality and like the height. And you take the NBA for example, like centers back in the day were like 6'8". LeBron is 6'9". Like come on.
Kobe's like 6'7", 6'6".
Yeah. So I don't know. It's just a lot different. Baseball, especially because you look at baseball players today, especially like all the mechanic stuff they figured out for pitchers and hitting.
Dude, they used to swing like this.
Dude, if you don't throw 95 plus, really 97 plus,
you can't make it these days.
In the MLB. Like it's kind of tough to make it unless you're like a specialty guy or maybe.
But how many specialty guys are making it? A lot of the specialty guys are the guys that have been in the big leagues for a while. Like you'll get like Rich Hill, right? Like he didn't just come up. He was in the MLB for a while and you can rely on him. You can get 4 or 5 innings out of him every single time. Yeah. He may give up 5 home runs in a game though, but he spots up, he throws strikes and you can rely on that. But you don't get a lot of guys that are making their way through the minor leagues that are throwing 88 to 92 anymore.
Yeah.
Like even when we were playing, you had some guys that were throwing gas, but I don't know if you played during the time of like Tom Eshelman at Cal State Fullerton. He was like Cal State Fullerton's all-time best pitcher, and he was like 88, 92. He just pounded the zone, walked nobody ever.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like there's like that guy is a pitcher, right? There's a different like that guy can make it, But like I was watching A&M this weekend, which by the way dropped 2 of 3 to University of Portland, which is especially embarrassing for me because that's where I'm from. So I had people, and speaking of, you had Cooper Hummel on, right? I texted him, sent him a picture on Friday, and I was like, this would have been fun when we were playing. And then we proceeded to lose the next 2. We lost Friday, Saturday, and then walked it off today. Barely avoided a sweep. Like it was, it was bad. But I was watching the game, and A&M's got a guy, I think he's a sophomore. Chris Cortez, his name, right-handed guy. He's throwing like 98 as a Sunday starter.
Well, did you see the Mississippi State guy?
Uh-uh.
He throws from both sides, 96 on the right, 93 on the left.
You're kidding.
No. Like what? Yeah. It's kind of crazy though if you think about it. Like if you just taught your kid how to do that, there's no reason like a lot of these guys
I'm trying to get Jake to do that. So Jake is starting to figure out how to throw a ball. He's like 16 months old now, and he keeps picking up everything left-handed. I'm like, dude, no, we can't be throwing. You can hit left-handed. I don't want you throwing left-handed. So I keep trying to get him to throw his right. And he keeps going back to his left. And I'm like, all right, dude, well, if you're going to do this, if you're going to throw lefty, then you're going to have to throw both because I need you to be playing shortstop growing up. If you're going to be lefty, you're stuck in center. You're playing outfield until high school, and then you got to be a pitcher. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, just do both and just practice it. There's no reason, you know what I mean? Like, you go to the cage, you throw your dominant, spend 15 minutes throwing your other, when you're 12, 13, 14, all of a sudden, if you can switch hit, you can switch throw. Okay?
Man, I've tried to throw with my left. It's
but we never practiced it. This kid probably grew up doing it. But imagine you're drafting this guy. You get a guy that throws mid-90s on both sides. Like,
it's like 2-for-1 special right there.
Yeah, that's
2 picks in 1.
That's like a Shohei Ohtani type of deal.
Dude, you know what I'd like to do is have, like, you had Cooper on. I'd like to have athletes on like that, people that we know we can start with, obviously. But back to that intersection of personal finance and athletics, I think it'd be super interesting to just hear from them on how they think about
their money and how to use it.
And money, right? And look, I'm nosy. Like, I want to know, where do you contribute to a 401k? Are you investing in real estate on the side? Like, where out of 100% of your paycheck, where does it go? 80% here, 20% there? Is it 30, 30, 30?
I bet a lot of them just give it to their agent. I bet you a lot just give it to their agent, and their agent has a financial guy, and that's what they do. Yeah, but still, I feel like they're like, that's fine, but there's a need to know where your money's going and how it's being used, right? Like, I was putting, this is absurd. I was putting 15% of my 401k up until like last month, and I'm like, you know what? I saw something Grant Cardone did the other day, and I was like, you know what? My 401k is not going to get me rich. Like, it's not like, when I retire, I'm probably going to have invested enough stuff that I'm not even going to need my 401k to use it like most people need it for. Yeah. And why wouldn't I just use that money now? Because the time value of money's worth more now than it is tomorrow, right? And so why don't I take more money out now, use it to invest, buy more, have more opportunities to buy real estate, and then not need that later down the line for retirement. And then I'm, putting towards my kids, my kids' funds, their kids' funds, like whatever. That's ideally the goal. But he was like, my sister had, this is Cardone. He's like, my sister had a 401k up to $240,000. I'm like, he goes, what the hell are you doing? Takes it out, buys $1 million worth of real estate. Yeah.
Well, I think that the Grant Cardones of the world, it's a little clickbaity in a sense where they're trying to be controversial. But I do, like, to me, I agree to a certain extent. It's like, I do not, 401k, absolutely get your, like, if you work for if you have an employer, get your free match because that's free money. After that, for me, I don't want to contribute beyond my employer match because I can do other things with that money that will benefit me starting tomorrow
and later.
Yeah. So to me, I count the 401k and even like an IRA and all that kind of stuff. To me, that's kind of like a nest egg. Like, if all else fails, all this investing, Wantrepeneur stuff that I'm trying to do, if I fail for the next 30 years straight, at least I'll have that damn 401k, like, I don't want to completely screw myself and just not have it. But I agree with you. I think a lot of people put all their eggs in one basket and they're like, oh, I'll be fine because I have this 401k. And I don't think, number one, I don't think it's enough. And number two, I think it's
not enough.
I think it's a bad habit to think that it's enough, because then you're kind of wasting time saying, oh, I'm good because I'm doing this, when in reality you're not. You should be doing other things too. And
well, I think
that's my 2 cents, right?
I think I told my financial planner that I want to spend, like, when I'm retired, like at least $5,000, $10,000 a month, like until death, right? And my projected retirement is 65, and it's like
inflation adjusted, because you're going to be paying.
But what
I'm buy you a Snickers bar.
But what I would say, they also predicted, like, the money I'll have in every account, whatever, based on what I make today, and that be the money I make every day until I'm 65. Which is going to increase substantially, so it's going to change. But the point is that, like, the money I need to save to be able to do that is like substantially more than what my 401k would give me. Well, substantially more.
And here's the key. When you're talking to your financial advisor, the exam question is not how much do I need in my bank account? It's how much do I need to be spending? So therefore, you should be solving for how much income do you need in retirement, not how much do you need to save for retirement, right? Like your 401k is a vehicle ultimately to provide income. So if you need $5,000 a month and you use, a 5% rule and you say, okay, if I have $1 million in a 401k and it's paying me 5% a year, like a dividend or something where I don't have to draw down the principal, then I'm good because 5% that's 50 grand. That's, almost $5,000 a month. So there's your income, right? And I made a video about this that you should go back and watch. It's, like 4 or 5 minutes long.
Yeah,
Media screen share, probably pretty tough to get through. But the point of the video was like, I bought one house that pays me in cash flow $1,000 a month net cash flow in my pocket. That's $12,000 a year. If you use a 5% rule on that, that's worth over $2 million. Oh, how about that? Look at that.
How many is that? How many is that off that video? 5?
I started at 135. Yeah, so that's 4.
Dude, you've been having some bangers.
Pretty good, pretty good.
Dude, and your vending machine video blew up. You're long.
Yeah, blew up. It's got 336 views. I mean,
that's
I would hardly call that blowing up, but
for us it is. My most is like 200. I think I have a couple at 200.
Yeah.
And that's what we really need. So people, go watch our longs.
Yeah, go watch the
longs.
We
need public watch hours.
The longs will get better. Dude, even after a month of doing this, like just the editing has gotten, it's still bad from me, but it's gotten a lot better because I did not know the first thing about making a YouTube video. It's hard. Like you have to, not only do you have to talk in front of the camera, which is one thing because that's really hard in and of itself, but then you have to go back and you have to kind of story tell a little bit, do some editing, keep people engaged. Like I was just putting the camera up and like rambling for 10 minutes. I was like, oh yeah, people are going to love this in my head. And then I go back and watch it. I'm like, what am I doing? Like, I can't even follow my own.
Oh, I told you that at the beginning. I'm like, there's no structure here. Like you're rambling. Like I don't like.
What did you say? You gave it to me straight. You were like, dude, no one wants to watch you ramble for like 5 minutes. I was like, oh my God, I think you're right, actually.
And it's changed. I mean, look at your videos now. You're getting over 1,000 views almost every single time. You're getting mostly 2,000. I mean, it feels like we've both been doing this for a month and collectively we have over 500 subscribers between the two of us, like in just a month of doing it. And it's commitment though. It's not like we're posting once a day or, once a week. I've been posting more than you because I have more time, but I'm like 4 or 5 times a day.
Dude, it's commitment, but it's also accountability too. And like one of the things I learned in school playing baseball is that accountability is not only about you holding yourself accountable. That's almost holding yourself accountable is kind of the easy part. Like holding other people accountable, that's where you get all the value, like your team around you, holding people accountable. You and me are a team, kind of holding each other accountable with the whole posting thing, right? And to be honest, I probably would have fizzled out and quit by now if I didn't, a little bit of a competitive nature, but also like if you post, I want to post, right? And then you tell me, hey, did you post today? Same thing, right? So I think holding each other accountable helps.
And it's kind of fun. Like for those that don't do this and you've thought about it, there's sort of like this dopamine hit you get when you hit a good video.
Oh, absolutely.
And you get a lot of likes, you get a lot of views, you get some subs from it. It's thrilling. It's exciting because it's like, that's the work you did. You put in time. So like if you have a boring, 9 to 5 job and you want a little dopamine hit, without actually doing drugs, go make YouTube videos because you'll get
dopamine. Yeah. Dopamine junkies, I guess. I know we wanted to keep this at 30 minutes. We're at 38 minutes. So I wanted to talk about one other thing, kind of shifting gears here, but have you seen this website called Flippa?
No.
Have I told you about this? Okay. So we were talking about real estate and vending machines and basically ways, 401ks, whatever, ways to generate income, right? I found this website called Flippa, it's like a marketplace to buy digital businesses. So you can buy a Shopify site, you can buy a blog, you can buy, whatever it is, online business, and you buy it based on the income, right? It's a business. So that's how you value it. And you can go on here and you can buy I wanted to do a little value add play, right? Where I go buy like a toy company or something. I found one that was for sale for like 30 grand. They have a Shopify store that sells toys, right? And we've got kids. Like I could buy a toy company, see if the kids like the toys, and then we've got kind of a natural marketing play where we've got Breland especially has a following on social media to where if these toys are good and we actually like them, then that's like free marketing, right? So you could take a business that's doing, call it $1,000 a month in sales and potentially double, triple, quadruple that number by adding some marketing fuel to the fire that's essentially free. So I think that's one idea that I had, is buying a business that kind of fits into what we do. Or it could be like a blog or something about personal finance, and then I could go and contribute to it. But I think it's just like when I bought the vending machines and I said, hey, the prices are all $1. If you can find a way to increase price, cut costs, add value to the business, I think buying an online business is a really easy way that anybody could go on here and have a little side.
Yeah, but I will say this, like, you do have that advantage, and I think it's a smart idea to buy a business that is relevant to your family. But not everyone has a wife that is a influencer, right? Or that has the reach she does and a loyal following she does. Because if she does post a toy, 100 people are going to go buy it. You know what I mean? Which then directly benefits you. You know,
well, I'm just saying in general. I mean, yeah, you're right. But in general, I think it's a good opportunity for anybody to go and kind of self-evaluate and say, okay, where do I have an edge? Do I know a lot about, toys? Do I know a lot about personal finance? Do I know a lot about sports? Go and find an online business, a newsletter, something that you can buy for maybe 10 grand, 20 grand, and add value to it. And then, potentially put some money in your pocket, right? It's kind of like it's kind of like,
I think
it's just an asset, right? It's just an asset. So it's cheaper.
You should first buy toys off that site though, right? And then see if it's even worth it. What if they're just bullshit?
Oh yeah, no, you'd have to go and do the due diligence, right? Like make sure that it's a good product, and you don't want to be pushing,
Alibaba wholesale.
Yeah. That'd be no bueno.
Well, hopefully next time we can chat about what we're doing on Amazon with our Amazon business, which we need to get going on a little bit with the storefront.
Yeah.
But we're not going to go into details because, there's a competitive market, but we found a great opportunity. We found a great partner who has a massive following in the baseball space. Super exciting stuff. I think it's going to do really well. Look, I am a negative Nancy when it comes to like businesses. Like I'm a devil. I play devil's advocate, right? I'd rather look at the bad things first and look at the good things. If you get too caught up in the good things, you get too emotional and you won't think about the bad things.
Yeah.
And I think this is actually a home run, like no pun intended. Like I think this is a great opportunity, how we're differentiating ourselves. There's literally the product itself you can find. The design, you will find nothing like it.
Well, it's a natural fit, just like what we talked about, right? Like we have a free marketing push, right? Or avenue, whatever you want to call it. So it's a baseball product and we have a big baseball following that we can capitalize on, which is huge. And it doesn't have to be Shark Tank where it's some new patented product. Like you just have to have an edge somewhere. So for us, it's product design and it's, marketing basically.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of the people in the space probably start up like us, seeing there's a big opportunity, but they don't have the natural reach, right? They don't have, our partner has a business that has 120,000 plus followers already. He has 50,000, 30 to 50,000 followers. Nick played at Texas A&M, right? A lot of his friends are playing in the big leagues, playing AAA. I played college baseball. I have friends that are in the major leagues. That's advertisement for us without having to spend $1. Yes.
Yeah, that's our edge, right?
You have to buy product, but we'll take the L because you ask those guys to brand your products. It's going to cost you more anyways, but they're doing it because they're friends. So it is a good fit. Alex has come to us. Our partners come to us before. And I'm like, I don't know if I like that. Like vending machine for me right now is not a good fit for me. For you, it makes sense. This was like, I'm doing it. Take my money. Let's go.
Well, I think massive action in the long run will do well. That's the whole Tony Robbins thing. Like just take massive action, right? Like if you fail, okay, you probably learned something. So for me, it's like everything that I've done in the last few years has been a result of I've failed quite a bit. I've done some things really well, but I've taken action and I've learned a lot from it. So I think this is another case where it's like, okay, we think this is a good opportunity, so we're going to do it. If it works, great. If it doesn't, then it doesn't. We learn, we move on to the next opportunity, right? Like You got to do something. You can't just sit at home and like nitpick and say, oh, well, this product already exists, or this is whatever, blah, blah, blah. Like everyone's kind of sitting back, I think, and twiddling their thumbs too much and making excuses why not to do something, when in reality, if you just try it, it might work,
Yeah, I agree. All right. Well, that concludes episode 2 of Wantrepeneurs. We'll be back